Hi, welcome to the live. It's been a minute since I've been on here live. I thought it was about time I checked in. How are you all doing? Although my glasses are all looking for something to clean them with. I'd like to know who's here. I've missed you guys. I've had a super busy week. So do check in. Let me know who's here and how you're doing. I wanted to talk a little bit about the prospect of the restrictions coming back this fall. But I'm going to wait until I know that I'm actually live and you can hear me. Or I'm just talking to myself. I hope you're all doing okay. Hold on a second. I'm just going to fix something here. My chat has disappeared. Sorry, I'm just refreshing my chat page on here. Because the chat disappeared. Oh, hey, Uncool. How's it going? Thanks for stopping in. How's it going with your job search? Thanks for the hearts. So cute. How's it going with the work or your business that you're taking over, doing your business instead? I hope it's going well. Thanks for the corn. That's original. Appreciate it. So yeah, everybody don't be shy to leave me a little note, say who's here and how you're doing. So yeah, at this point, I largely try to ignore the COVID news. Wait, was this still unemployed, but you're okay? All right. Well, I know you're going to be okay long term. I'm sure it's going to work out for you. But yeah, I'm seeing on Facebook mostly these comments from my friends. Oh, they're going to bring back the mask. They're going to bring back the mandates. We're going to go back to how it was. I'm sorry, I find it really distracting when I have all this stuff going on here on the screen. It kind of, I never did get used to it. Hi, Kokum. Hi, GTO. Hi, Halo. Hi, Roar Lion. Thanks for stopping in, you guys. It's really great to see you. Hi, Wise Guy. So yeah, I mean, I have some friends that are very convinced that they're going to bring it all back. Even my partner Aaron was like, yeah, they're gonna do it again. They're gonna put us in lockdown. Hi, Gizmo. Hi, Love. And I'm gonna just tell you straight up, personally, I don't think they're gonna do it. I think that we've been heavily psyoped. We've been traumatized. They did it to us once before, and it was for a very extended period of time, and it was like our worst nightmare. And we're all a bit traumatized. And I think that they want us to live in that fear that they could put us back in our rooms at any moment. Because realistically, this isn't normal. What happened, these measures, none of this was normal. These were under, what did they call it? Oh rats, I can't remember the name of the contract or the document they had. In our law in Quebec, and I've known this since forever, but I've never seen it used before. In our law in Quebec, they have these exceptional measures that can be used in a health emergency, but it has to be really a large scale emergency. It has to be something really unusual. I always thought it would be, if there was an anthrax attack or something really serious, or smallpox came back, or something really bad. They have this provision in the law, just speaking for Quebec, that the government can do what they did, which is basically when it comes to the health measures, they can just call all the shots. They don't have to run it through the National Assembly, and they could do all those things like what they did. You all know what they did. For Canada as well, they had to pass special, they're like the equivalent of when the president passes, what do they call that when he overrides, it doesn't have to go through the court, executive order. It was sort of like that, our government could pass. And I'm sorry, but I'm super tired. I haven't had enough sleep because Gunner's back at school, but it's executive order level, acts or emergency powers. Thank you, Jersey. They can seize emergency powers. It has to be an emergency. And in our law in Canada, it would be if it was a war, if it was an attack on our soil, if it was a major natural disaster, our provincial governments can do certain things. They can even seize your property, like if there's a huge fire or whatever, you know, they have these things, but it's meant to be for like a very serious emergency. And it's usually, you'd think it's meant to be for a short time. Like imagine if there really was a smallpox epidemic and they really had to have the authority to tell people, you've got smallpox here. And this is, by the way, this is what they do all over the world. Like, how do they contain pneumonic plague? They have outbreaks in Mongolia and China from people eating rodents. How do they contain them? Because they can put a quarantine, they'll cordon off an area, be like nobody comes in or out. They don't usually put people in their houses, but they can quarantine areas. They can do things like that. And they can do that in Canada and the US, I guess in the US as well. But it has to be something really big. Like if there was a smallpox outbreak, that our government could say, okay, we need to do this so that it doesn't spread. But they did this with COVID. They had us all convinced this was, you know, highly dangerous. At the time it was new. Now the evidence points that it probably came out of a lab. Maybe it was escaped. Let's hope it wasn't intentional, you know. But this is what they say now, that it traces back to this lab. And so that I guess they knew that it was something new. And so for those reasons they could enact these emergency powers. But let me tell you, this is not normal, and they do not normally have these powers. And when our government did that here and they wouldn't let go of the emergency measures, they had seized it. And they were supposed to, like, it was like for 10 days that they can have it, and then they have to renew it. Or maybe it was 30 days, but it's for a very short period. And they'd have to like vote to renew it, but they kept renewing it for like 2 years, which is sort of abusing the purpose of the act. It's never, I think that no one ever intended or imagined that it would be used in that way, that would be like dragged out and just kind of become the norm. So they took something for emergency and they made it normal for us. Remember they used to use this word, the new normal? Like think about it, right? Not the temporary emergency measures. Hi, Kanga. Thanks. Yeah, she's doing better. Not the temporary emergency measures that just bear with us, it's not going to be long, but the new normal. Remember they called it the new normal. As if like this is how it's going to be from now on. But remember that our laws, which we do have, provide for this in an emergency, such as, yeah, a really serious disease or a sudden emerging disease, something like that. And pandemics, like seriously, if you look at them historically, it's something that happens once every 100 years. I mean, you know, there was the 1918 flu, which we all know about. There was the Russian flu, which is in the 1800s. Well, you know, they say that swine flu was a pandemic, but they meant it only in terms of the spread, not really the severity at the time. I remember that one. I hope YouTube doesn't send me to the meat grinder for this, but I remember that Margaret Chan at the time, the head of the WHO, tried to do sort of what happened this time, but I guess they didn't have the infrastructure and people didn't, you know, go for it anyway. But I remember there was like a leaked audio at the time where they were discussing, you know, that situation, and they had said spin it. And I had a video on this because the thing was, they were saying that the swine flu of 2009 or whatever was more deadly for young people, but the truth was it was just that the older people had been exposed to swine flu in the 70s, so it happened to be that they had more immunity. So actually all that was happening is proportionately fewer older people were dying. It didn't mean that there was a higher number of younger people. It just meant that proportionally, usually it's like this much old people and this much young people, but it was like less old people dying, so proportionately more young people. So they kind of spun it like, oh look, it's killing all these young people. But and they tried to push that and to make that, you know, like the emergency like what we had now, but it didn't really go through. But remember, this is emergency, so they have us conditioned to believe that this is the new normal and we can go back to it at any time. But personally, I don't believe it. First of all, the law, even if you have a government that abuses the law, like what we have in Quebec, and that would use these things as an excuse to seize power. And let me tell you, a lot of friends of Francois Legault made a lot of money. He was very generous, giving out contracts to his friends for, you know, millions of masks or whatever stuff they didn't end up even using. you know, it was just like the worst case of like corruption and nepotism here on that end. Because that was another thing, that he could give out contracts without it having to be vetted by the rest of the government. But that was a particular situation. I honestly can't believe how he like walks around with himself now, and after what he did, all the abuse of power. And I remember how sick it was that, you know, they had done the lockdown the first time, and then the next at Christmas, right? And all the businesses were like suffering from it. And then the next year they all bought their stock. They had the restaurants were fully reserved. They had prepared all this expensive seafood. And then the night before New Year's Eve, he put them back on lockdown, you know? He pissed off a lot of people, but the way it works in Quebec, and I know it's a bit of a tangent, is that it goes by riding. So he has a lot of support from like the Quebec nationalists outside of Montreal, small ridings that carry a lot of votes. All he has to do is get them. Montreal can hate Francois Legault. It doesn't really matter. There won't be enough votes by ridings. Even if he loses Montreal, it doesn't matter. Oh, Kanga just leaving you a message. Oh no, you were in the hospital again? Oh, I'm sorry. I know you've had a lot of problems. You guys say some prayers for Kanga because she's had a lot of problems with her liver. But I'm glad you're out of the hospital, and I hope you feel better. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear it. You go ahead and email me if you want to talk. So anyway, even with our corrupt, crappy government, I don't think there's any way that they can re-seize that power, because this COVID virus has been with us for a few years now. And as much as they're saying that there's new variants, yeah, sure, there's new variants, because this thing never stops mutating. So, you know, the flu has new variants all the time too. Like, viruses mutate. But from what I understand from the list of symptoms that I've seen, they're becoming more and more like cold symptoms. Like the proportion of people who even have fever is lower than before. Now, I don't know how it's going to be in winter. If, you know, there is a real possibility that a certain group of people might not have a very good defense immunity. Read between the lines. I don't think I'm going to be in that group. Probably not a lot of you are either. But you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a possibility that some people might have difficulty. But whatever it is, I don't think that there's any way that they could play it off as a big enough emergency to justify bringing back the like emergency health measures that they had in Canada or in Quebec or in the States. And in the States, I know that there are some universities that are bringing back mandates, which to me doesn't really make any sense, because it's like, it's young people. A lot of them have already had a few shots. They've had COVID. What's justifying it? Like, if you're following the science, where's the science? You know, as far as I know, there wasn't any study really exactly done to show what was the benefit. Some universities are doing it. I'm kind of really wondering why. Do they get funding from pharmaceutical companies, or, you know, what's going on? But some universities are doing it, but those are private institutions. So that's a lot different than a government mandate. And actually, just recently in New York, a judge ruled that the officials at the time who had fired all kinds of, actually it was teachers, unvaccinated teachers had been fired. The judge called it frivolous. He used two words, frivolous and something else, you know, like that there was nothing really supporting them doing that. And so now he's ordered that they have to actually give them back pay. So, you know, if a judge can do that in New York now and say there was no justification for this and it was frivolous, and you've got to pay these people back pay, because he said it didn't make sense that you could fire a teacher for being unvaccinated when they're teaching a class of mostly unvaccinated children. Like, it didn't really make sense, you know? So looking at this kind of stuff, I'd find it really hard to believe that they could bring a mandate back for employment. Yeah, and a lot of universities do get funding from pharmaceutical companies. I kind of wonder, eh? But like I said, those are private institutions. You know, in Quebec, I doubt it, because right now they are so short-staffed. And a lot of it had to do with the mandates. It really did, because for all the government jobs, You had to have all that. And you know what? Despite what they said about how it was 90 something percent, I saw their stats because they kept putting them out even after like things had died down. And I remember at one time they had told us that 100% of the teenagers had had one shot. And how weird, 6 months later, it was 78%. And I have screenshots of that, but I don't know where it is. So how did it go from 100% to 78%? Where did that 22% go? And then they were declaring that their definition of vaccinated was actually either having had a shot or been infected. So what this means was that their statistic was that all we know for sure is that 78% of the children had either been infected or had a shot. What does that tell you? That's a lot different than 100% of them have had a shot. That was to make us feel like we better get on board. That was to put pressure on the kids. So, there was less compliance here than they want us to believe. I know a lot of people fake their way through it. There was that too. There's something very screwy about their statistics and their reporting. A lot of people quit their jobs and went into other things or took early retirement. So they are so short-staffed right now. To give you an example, they closed the welfare office downtown, and you can no longer just call and get through and actually just talk to someone. Now it's like this automated system. It's super short-staffed. You can expect to wait for 3 hours on the phone. So they're all screwed up. And then, of course, our hospitals, total disaster. When I bring Gunnar now to the hospital, I noticed that there are very few people actually getting services. So it's why did it take 6 months to get this appointment? And that's pretty fast. 6 months for here. 6 months to get an MRI on his knee. And then I get there and it's it doesn't look very full. You know what? It's because they just don't have the staff. So the hospital's lost staff, government, the welfare office, and even the Quebec government. I got a shock the other day when I opened my mail and they're telling me I didn't pay my corporate taxes and they're going to start fining me. Actually, no, I did my taxes on time, submitted them. My accountant has the confirmation code. And not only me, but in the same week, the government called Aaron and told him that he didn't do his taxes. So and that they're going to cut him off of his disability because he didn't do his taxes. Then we called welfare and they're like, no, we have the taxes. And I know we did them because when I applied for his rent subsidy, I had to submit all the papers. So how is it that he didn't do his taxes? I mean, and that's two people in the same family that they don't have they're lost our tax stuff. Crazy, eh? That's how short-staffed they are. So if they bring back any more mandates, they're going to lose more staff. I mean, again, with the support thing, there are so many diehard Quebec nationalists that I think Legault could pretty much, maybe crap all over the National Assembly and still get voted in because they just want Quebec as French as possible, as French Canadian as possible, something like that. But no, I don't think he can bring it back. They don't have a leg to stand on. Canada doesn't have a leg to stand on. Justin Trudeau is now stuck in India. I don't know if you guys have heard of this. Apparently his plane is stranded. I saw that news. There was a news report. They're all serious about it. They're the Prime Minister's plane is unable to take off because of such and such problem. And so they got Justin Trudeau stuck on the plane. He can't come back to Canada. I commented, I said, I hope that he gets the shits, because that would be the worst thing that could happen to you on a plane while you're stuck is to get the shits. But let's just hope, So he's stuck out there. So anyway, no, I don't think that they're going to be able to do that. But I think they just really conditioned us. And that's the biggest deal, is the fact that they got into our heads so much that they're so in control that they could just bring this back at any time. But honestly, there's no way that it's gonna, and Aaron was like, oh, but maybe the real virus is gonna come this fall. And I'm like, no, they've psyoped you. Don't fall for it, They just want you to live in fear now that Big Brother can lock you up anytime he wants. And the Americans would be insane to bring back the mandates, because they say that, like, what is it, 60 something or 70% had 2 shots. So you've got like a good 30-35% that never went for it. A lot of them are Republicans apparently, but not all of them. And then you have like another 30-35 that went along with it because they kind of had to, because they didn't want to lose their jobs or something like that. So that's kind of like the well, in Canada, I think it was like 50% were really ready to go and get it in the first place, 50 or 60, and then they like squeezed another 30% or so to go get it. But that 30% is not going to go for another round. So you bring back mandates and you have like maybe almost 50% of the population that's just not up for it. Good luck. Yeah, they would be crazy to do that because there's an election coming up. And one of the things that have pissed off people the most was all these mandates. And, it was different in the States because it was very much like based on state by state, because the federal government doesn't have jurisdiction over all these things so much. In Canada, it was kind of like blanket mandates, but it turns out they could lift them more like one at a time. But yeah, they were able to mandate it for all, basically, like, yeah, remember you had to have it to get on a plane or a train, but not on a bus. Don't you just love the science of it, Like, I mean, isn't that a bit of a red flag? You can sit on a crowded bus with a bunch of sweaty people and it's okay. But you can't take a plane where the air is like refreshed at the fastest rate on any mode of transportation. Can't take a plane, but you can sit on the bus. I mean, really, good luck going for another round. Hi, Eternity. Hi, Armor of God. Oh, yeah, the restaurants were really dangerous. Oh, yes, until you sit, right? I mean, really. You know what's crazy? I still see people, now, especially as we're going into fall, I'm starting to see people wearing masks again. And I'm starting to see some people wearing masks in their cars. I saw a man in a car with his dog and he had a mask on. I felt like saying to him, man, I'm pretty sure your dog doesn't have COVID. And anyway, like, even if the dog had COVID, so what? We're not in 2020. Haven't you had like about 6 boosters by now? Why are you so worried why are you wearing a mask in your car with your dog? Like, you lost your damn mind. That's why, it's so crazy. Oh, you drove 70 miles to find a store that didn't require masks? God, it was a nightmare for me. I had to have an exemption because I have like really bad sensory problems. It was so hard. It almost made me crack. Like, not crack to the point where I was going to, go along with it, because I really couldn't. I would have like almost like a seizure, No, he wasn't an Uber driver. Uber drivers don't drive around with a giant doodle in the front seat. It was just a guy, But yeah, like, it was making me crack. Like, my mental health was, suffering. And everywhere I went, I would get confronted. I had a paper that said I didn't have to wear it, but everywhere I went, if I went to the mall, I could expect to be confronted like 7 or 8 times by security guards. And then store security, and then, store people. And I don't like confrontation, I was really tired of it. That I had to keep pulling out this paper and explaining to them that I have a medical condition, and they treat you like a criminal, and it was like, I just didn't even want to go shopping. I used to wear a little tiny bandana that was completely thin and did absolutely nothing, and that was satisfactory because of science, But it was really hard. I couldn't go to like anywhere like the gym that made you wear masks and stuff. No, it was out of the question. But I stuck it out. Here I am. The bandana, yeah. Well, it was a neck gaiter, You're scared the LD is coming back? What's the LD? Handle it like a badass. Pretty much, yeah. I figured I've had worse. I was institutionalized for 3 years in a experimental school where their specialty was psyoping us from morning till night. The thing about that is I think that helped me to learn. Like, it did something to my mind, you know. Like, and I seen the people that I was in that place with, and they were either one way or the other. Some of them, they just like they fell in line right away. And like, I've been really conditioned to be very obedient to authority. Like, I'm literally not able to do anything that breaks a law or a rule because of my conditioning. I think I was so traumatized. And yet, if there's a like this was the limit, though. I was never going to do it. But there were some people that I went to school with that when this came out, it was like they just fell into it. They didn't see, they were using the same techniques on everyone that they used on us. It was group punishment. It was like singling out, like, this is the person that's causing all the problems, go hate them. It's their fault that you're suffering, but it's actually, no, it's your fault. You're the one who made these stupid rules in the first place, right? But this is like the kind of stuff they did to us there. Like, if one person misbehaved, they would group the whole dorm. So we all had to walk around holding hands, or they would dorm us. They would put us in the lobby of our dorms. Like, they literally would put us in lockdown. Or they would they put us in chairs for like weeks on end. They called it sitting, where like we'd sit in a big circle, you know, until people would just absolutely crack. And yeah, they did a lot of like group think, group punishment. It was very cultish. And anyway, so when I saw this, I kind of recognized that they were, well, at the beginning, I was like, just like anyone, I was scared, and I was like, okay, I'll do whatever you say, you know, and I was like spraying the elevator buttons and everything. But after a couple of weeks or like a little while, I was like, wait a minute, something's not adding up here. And then when I saw how authoritarian they were being, and like, you know, you take it off to eat and then you put it back on, I was like, what? I noticed that they were using the exact same tactics that they used on us in that brainwashing school. So then I was like, oh, I know what you guys are up to. And I was able to just like write it out, because I knew you can't keep this up forever. Because if you're going to keep it up forever, you're going to have to take it to the next level. And I'm pretty sure you're not going to want to do that, because people are really going to see what you're made of. You know, they're going to see, like, how far are you going to take this? And I remember people were scared they were going to like put them in like quarantine camps. And I think that the goal is maybe more to have people afraid that they were going to do that. They did do it in China, so I guess it's possible. But I was like, you know, bring it, man. I was locked up for like 3 years. Bring it. I can do some time in my house, no problem. I kind of wonder whether people who've done time in jail handled it better. I wasn't in jail, right? Like, I was in an experimental school. But I wonder whether people who've done time were kind of like, oh yeah, like, because we've been like locked up before, so like for extended periods of time. So we have all these strategies for how to cope with it. Yeah, no, it wasn't exactly Allen Memorial MK Ultra. It was more like a cult. Like, go see the documentary This Is Paris, where Paris Hilton talks about being in a school like that. That's pretty much what happened to me. The people who would start jerking around and fall down and die, yeah, the people in China. Yeah, how much you want to bet that was fake? Obviously, now. Or it was from something else. Like, they had a footage of somebody who had a seizure, and they're like, oh, it was COVID. COVID didn't give people seizures here that I know of. Don't send me the meat grinder. It's not on the list of symptoms. Yeah, I know. Take your mask off when you're eating. I remember the kids that had like, they made these cloth masks that has zipper. Like, if your mouth is open, like, it defeats the purpose of the mask. Oh my God. But it's because, you ever seen that there are like these behavioral studies where they have people look at like 3 lines, and then they'll say, or 2 lines, and they'll say which one is longer, and a person who just got in will be like, well, it's obviously line B because he can see that it's longer. But what they do is they put them in that room with 2 or 3 other people who are plants, and those people are told they're going to say it's the other line. So they'll be like, okay, which line is longer? And the first person will say it's line A, and the second one will be like, it's definitely line A. And the third person will be like, it's line A. And then when they get to the person who's, you know, the test subject, he'll be like, you can see the look on their face. They're like, what's going on here? And then they'll be like, this line A, because they don't want to go against the grain, because we're not programmed, but it's like we're wired for conformity. Not all of us, obviously. Some of us, not at all. But generally, people are wired for groupthink and conformity. I think it's just an evolutionary advantage, because you have to be able to like get along with other people and function as a group. I mean, imagine you're a cave person, and you know, you all have to like work together for your survival. If you just run off and do whatever, you're probably going to die. So I think a lot of people are pretty hardwired for conformity. And I was amazed at the kind of excuses they made for themselves after, when I was like, why did you do that? They're like, well, we had to do something. Why did you do that to your children? Well, it's better to do something than to do nothing. Oh, yeah. Well, there's like the risk benefit balance that, I personally, if it was me and it's my child, I'd have to be sure that the balance is in his favor. But they were convinced that that's how science works, that when you have an emergency, you just like throw everything at it and just do whatever. And like, if it turns out that it's the worst thing you could do, at least you tried, and that's not the way it works. Because when they have these problems in Asia, like in China or wherever, like I said, with plague, they have very particular ways of handling things. You don't just like do all kinds of random stuff, stand on dots and, wear masks with zippers in them. Like but anyway, I think if they were ever going to contain it, they completely screwed it up from the beginning, because by the time that we were in lockdown, it was already all over the place. They had done a study and they found that blood samples taken in Italy in 2019 were already positive for it in the summer. So it had already escaped. So, good luck containing it. But anyway, I don't think that they're going to bring it back this year. I think they just have us in a state of mind, not me, but a lot of people, that, oh, they could do it. I don't think they're going to do it. I've told you before, we're in a lull. And their pattern is always push and lull, push and lull. If you go looking historically, this is how they do it. So we're in a lull right now. So like, enjoy your life. That's what I'm doing. And then there'll be another push, but not probably for maybe a few years. Hopefully a few, not just a couple. And the US with their election, hi Cece, if they want to make sure that they don't get reelected, they should bring back mandates for what mandates can they bring for healthcare workers, for federal workers, and for interstate travel? I mean, you really think the US is going to bring back mandates for planes? They didn't even have them during the thing. People were flying all over the place, from what I remember. Maybe they had them for a while, but I knew people who they couldn't get in the States without it. But that's because of on Canada's end. But once they were in there, they could travel, like when we still couldn't. Yeah, no. Oh my gosh, you guys, did you hear the news? You remember we had all these crazy fires here, like it was around June or July, remember in Quebec? It was so smoky, it was like making me cough, even in the city. An environmental activist just got arrested for starting fires here in Quebec. What was the region? Was it Chibougamau or something like that? Yeah, it was an intentionally started fire. It wasn't just like random. That was in our news here. An eco activist. So fight global warming by burning down the Quebec forest. That makes sense. When is Trudeau up for re-election? I think it's 2025. He made this little deal with the NDP that he would give them something they wanted, like dental care, if they promised not to do a no confidence vote on him, which would mean like if the NDP teamed up with like the Conservatives, for example, and they create a majority together, and then they all gang up on him and say, we've lost confidence. This happened to Harper. He's lost the confidence of the House. I think it's like get him out that way, but the NDP promised not to do that in exchange for some crappy dental care plan, which are probably not going to see for a long time. So he will be like impossible to get rid of. And they literally like made this deal that the NDP will back the Liberals on everything, and that gives them basically majority. So like there's not much else that can be done. However, we do have a Senate, and the Senate can override things. But yeah, so it was some activist who started the fire. I mean, as far as I heard. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to bring up besides Justin Trudeau being stuck on a plane. I like the thought of that. I hope they make him wear a mask. He's gonna have some bad karma, that's what I'm thinking. Like, I'm a good Christian and everything, but if anybody ever earned bad karma, it's Justin Trudeau. Who pays these activists? I know, like, was he just a rogue? Did he just decide to do it on his own? Or did somebody put him up to it? What happened to Pat King and the trucker convoy? Well, I guess once the mandates went away, there was no more need for them. They were out of the spotlight. Poilievre. Yeah, I know, but I'm suspicious because he was on, I think he was on the World Economic Forum website. He had a little blurb and they took it off. I don't trust anybody anymore. I mean, like I would have trusted Bernie Sanders if I was an American. But see, like the good guys never win because it's all rigged, you know? So what do you guys think is going to happen with the election? Let me know what you think. I'm just going to check out your comments. I know, terrible, Mermaid Moxie. Yeah, all the poor little forest animals. It's horrible that he did that. Now I'm going to look at your comments. Yeah, no, U.S. Oh, Canada, I think Poilievre has a good chance. Like, we're all so sick of the Liberals. Breadline Bernie, I know, but he's a good soul. Probably wouldn't have, like, psyoped you. Like, Biden is a puppet. It's not possible he's running the country. I know you're not voting for Trudeau. Like, who is? Do you think Trump could get reelected? I wonder. I just hope that if Trump gets reelected, the Liberals are not going to, like, stage a bunch of murderous protests and torch cities and then just blame it on, like, oh, it's just, you know, civil unrest because everybody hates Trump. When they know exactly, like, that it was totally, like, staged and they went in there and, like, started all this crap. Mail-in voting. Oh my God, yeah. Remember those videos? Oh wait, I'm not allowed to talk about that. Well, let's say, remember videos of, like, people putting, like, stacks of, you know, things in the mail. How nice of them to mail everyone's ballots for them. They were helping the old people in the retirement homes, of course, mail their ballots. And how kind of them. But anyway. What's this? French is not the main language spoken in households? Well, I think it is outside of Montreal. We've got like half the population. Here, everybody speaks different languages. Yeah, I think it's like half. Yeah, outside. You're doing live at the same time as America's Got Talent? What a fool I am. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. I had to just go live because I didn't want to, like, neglect you guys because I was busy and I was tired and I hadn't done a live last week, so I thought I better stop in and say hi. I'm just looking at your comments now. An autistic boy in New Zealand has just won a big golf competition after only playing 3 times before. Wow, that is amazing. Hey, Matt the vegan. I was acknowledging reality during that time, but I got, you know, I couldn't deal with it anymore. I was just like, it just got to the point, like, they were literally taking down videos that were made by doctors, scientists who had done studies, who were like actual experts in science. And whatever snot-nosed, acne-faced, buck-toothed, high school dropout, you know, folks at YouTube, trusted flaggers. What are the qualifications for that? Yeah. I'm sure it's not a science degree. They were taking their videos down, you know? And so, I mean, if they take their videos down, like, I don't stand a chance. And it seemed like it had to do with how you say things, but I can't be, you know, I have a rambly way of talking. It's kind of all over the place. That's just how I talk. It's very hard for me to watch everything I say and make sure all my words are chosen carefully. It doesn't come naturally to me. So I kept putting my foot in my mouth. I just phrase it in a certain way that they would, like, twist my words. Oh, you said this, you know, you recommended that people don't put masks on. And I was like, I never said that. It's because I said, oh, and when you're in a crowd, they were outside in England at the seashore and they weren't wearing masks because they were outside. And I said, when it's that crowded, well, social distancing, forget about it. I said it like that, like, forget about it. You know, Donnie Brasco, forget about it. And they were like, you're telling people to forget about social distancing. So it's like, forget about you. You're like an abusive boyfriend. Oh my God, what a nightmare. So I just was like, forget it. Leave it to the experts. I have other things to do with my time. I'm doing Poshmark now anyway. Yeah, and I was kind of depressed today because Gunnar got in trouble at school. And so look what I did. I put on some nice clothes that I thrifted. I got this denim maxi dress. I'm not going to show you all my thrift stuff. But anyway, it's a really nice denim maxi dress and it's vintage. And then I put this fabulous thing on top, which I love so much. And I put this thing on sale in my store, and I'm thinking, if I sell this thing, I'm going to be kicking myself because look how gorgeous it is. Look, it's crochet and it's super long. And I mean, it's just over the top, you know, it's like super long in the back and like flapping things, and I just love it. And it, you know, it's so cozy, and it's, yeah, I know, it's so cowgirl, and it's so cozy, and it's so grandma. I don't want to sell it. What am I doing? I have tons of stuff here though that I'm gonna sell. Well, let me show you one thing that I did buy. I'm actually, I got a lot of like donated stuff from people that were trying to declutter. That I told them, I'll help you. Like, just give me all your crap. It's a sweater. It's got sleeves. Just give me all your crap and I'll sort it. And I give some to the refugees, like the kids' clothes. I give some to the thrift store. I give some to the homeless. And I keep some for me. That's what I get out of it. So I get to help people get their mess under control. So like probably 3/4 of the stuff on there, it's either stuff that I had, it was just for my mom, or it was just given to me. I didn't pay for it. So that helps. But it's not like, you know, fancy brands, and I don't get to choose what it is. So, well, I get to choose what I keep, but you know, but I did. So I haven't really been thrifting that much, but I did go the other day and I bought this and I love it. Wait, I'll try to back up. See, I have this like bed rest support pillow that I got from someone. I'm trying to sell that one on Marketplace. I don't know if you can see this, but look at this thing. It's so long in the back. But look at this. This is so crazy that I bought this. It's so 70s. And it kind of smells like old people home, so maybe it was in a retirement home. I smelled it and I was like, it's that, you know, CHSLD antiseptic. I can smell it. But anyway, it's extremely funky, 1970s, but it's a dress. And it kind of looks ridiculous, but actually when I put it on, I was like, wow, damn, this thing really fits. But the smell, though, it smells like the retirement home. You know what, though? This thing would be perfect if it was not a dress, but a jumpsuit, and if it had short sleeves. Because right now it's perfect for Aunt Flo. Yeah, this is a cardigan. But that funky 1970s thing is all polyester, super funky. I was even thinking, like, I wonder if I could alter it and, like, you know, open the seams so I could, like, make the crotch like this, and then I could, like, sew it together. I wonder if I could do that without ruining it. There's enough material in the back that, like, if I made a dart, I could, you know, I could try. I could, like, just do a creative project and try and chop it up and turn it into a jumpsuit. And, like, make the sleeves short. I think that would be really cool, you know? Tweak it a little bit. It'd be kind of like super raver outfit. But anyway, I'm not worried about the restrictions. That was the thing I want to tell you. And I was wondering how you feel about the US election and what you think is going to happen. And yeah, I've just been really busy. You can go check out my Poshmark store, Elga's Bazaar. I mean, I know if you're in the US, you can just look at it. You can't buy from it. But you can just check out what I've been up to. I have like 530 items in there now. But it's going better. Like now I'm starting to have like maybe one sale a day, so it's good. Remember your series where you would cover a story in the news and you would read all these different headlines and called out all the BS and asked so many questions? I missed those videos. Yeah, it's just I can't do it because I can't justify the amount of time. Like I was spending a ton of time doing that, but a lot of things have changed. First of all, it's really hard to get the news. Like it seemed like it was easier before to get like good stories. Now I think because I was able to find things easily through like Facebook, or like I would just look on Yahoo News. I find it's harder now for some reason. And also, like, I just have a lot of things going on. And another factor was the fact that like YouTube just doesn't pay me. I mean, do you guys work for free? You know, I have to pay for our stuff. We have to eat. My son needs things. I cannot spend all my time. It was a lot of time, and I spent a lot of time sitting. I spent probably 10 years in here sitting on my ass. It's not good for my health. I wasn't really getting paid after a while. No, what am I going to go to Rumble for? What for? I just can't do that. Like, I really don't earn enough as a caregiver to support myself. And my child support is getting cut off in 2 years. So I have to work. Like, I need to earn a living. The cost of living is going up all the time. I did it for a long time, you know? And even when it was paying just a bit, like if it was $500 a month, I was like, okay, it's still worth it. But when it's $50 a month, it's not worth it. I actually started feeling like really like resentful against YouTube and feeling like exploited, like I'm busting my ass here and yeah, everything's monetized and still I make absolutely no money. So, would you spend like 8 hours a day, 8 to 12 hours, like researching news? Because you have to research it. You have to put all your stuff together, organize it, make yourself a script. You have to take screenshots. You have to spend hours editing. For what? No, I've been there and I've done that, and I'm done because I can't anymore. And I'm getting older too. I'm 52. I'm not gonna spend the rest of my life sitting here reading the news, because the people that do that, like Jimmy Dore and whoever, Russell, but those people all get paid. That's their job. They don't have to do that and then go be a caregiver and then hustle on Poshmark and Marketplace. You know what I'm saying? Those people get paid. So it's their job. That's all. And they have a team. Those people they have editors, they have writers, they have people that do the research for them. Like all those big YouTubers that you see, they're not a one-man show. So it's doable. But for like me to do all that, I was just going to burn myself out completely, Oh, thanks, Armor of God. I appreciate it. I thought I just sort of turned into a rambly old lady. Well, I guess, okay, thank you. If I'm a good communicator, I think it's okay, But I mean, yeah, I used to be very, very interested in what's going on with the news and all that. I still follow, I keep telling you, I follow a number of doctors because they're looking at all the research, and I get a lot of information from them because it kind of shows me like what direction this could go in. I mean, if it came out that afterwards the people that had the shots, like they really have great immunity, and the people that didn't get it are completely screwed, you could say, well, maybe they're going to bring back mandates, or if the virus was mutating and it was becoming super dangerous, and whatever, like all that information is kind of out there. But all the info that I've been getting, it's pointing to they're kind of doing damage control to their reputation at this point. I think a lot of what they don't want to let go of is just to save face, because if they just flat out go like, yeah, a lot of the stuff we did, it was, it went on for too long and it was pointless, and we just kind of tortured you. Sorry about that. It's not going to look good. Like here in Quebec, like what I was saying, shutting the restaurants again on New Year's Eve, or whatever it was that they did, that they put us in lockdown, and it was at least 1/4 of the population got COVID while we were in lockdown. So, I mean, I guess it worked really well. Did it? I don't know. Depends how you define it worked well. Maybe it would have been 50 if we weren't in lockdown. But lockdown didn't mean you couldn't go to the store or you couldn't go to work. It just meant you couldn't go to the restaurant. So, anyway, whatever. Let's not talk about it anymore. Yeah, it was so empty. Yeah, I remember that. Oh, you liked it? Driving? Well, I remember like going to the malls and it was empty and it looked like a ghost town and it was freaky. Why not work with a team of my own? I don't have a team of my own. I don't have that. I'm not going to assemble a team now. Like, I'm busy. I already have a job, and I need to get that done. And I have to take care of my mom, as you guys know. I need time for her. And Gunner is still like a handful. I had to go pick him up from school today because okay, one more crazy thing. The school, so Gunner's been wearing Crocs because he has a sensory issue with socks and with shoes. And the Crocs were like a really easy way for him to just get out of the house. And all of a sudden, he wore Crocs like last year. It was no problem. He wore Crocs at the beginning of this year. And all of a sudden, they decided now that Crocs are a safety hazard in the event of an emergency. As in, if there's a fire or like, some other kind of emergency where everybody has to get out, all of a sudden the Crocs are a problem. I'm trying to wrap my head around that. How does that work? Crocs are like one of the most popular shoes. Everybody wears them. I've never seen a news story about somebody dying because they were wearing Crocs and they couldn't get out. And it doesn't make sense. And the principal is telling me very seriously, well, it's a safety issue. And that's why you can't wear Crocs. It's for your safety. And I told him, well, the real issue is whether he's going to get out of the house and have shoes on his feet, and the Crocs are solving that problem, versus your sort of hypothetical fantasy that there could be this emergency and the people who have Crocs won't be able to run fast enough. But, later I was like, what the hell? Even that fantasy doesn't make sense, because when they have a drill, don't they have like a system for how to get everyone out? Isn't it like walk, don't run? Didn't we do drills in school where they were like walk, don't run, hold hands, go down using the railing? And I'm thinking, does this principal have these weird morbid fantasies where the fire alarm goes off, or there's like, an active what in the school and everyone's running? Like, what is it going to be, like an absolute free-for-all? You're going to have to run so fast that your Crocs are going to trip you up and you're going to be falling like a white girl in a horror movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the hell? Like, these people are crazy. And they have this whole big thing. And then they were going to, I already complained. I was like, I'm writing to the school board about this. I'm asking for an accommodation. Hypervigilance imagination. This principal must have been traumatized. Like, why would he think that Crocs are a safety hazard? It doesn't make any sense, you guys. It's so crazy. I feel like, but then again, these are the people that told you to wear your mask with a zipper and open it at lunch, put your food in your mouth. Now they don't want you to wear Crocs. I hope they don't have a government mandate. And it's not even like a dress code issue, like it doesn't look professional. He told me it was a safety issue. Because if there's a fire, maybe your Crocs will melt. And you won't make it down the stairs. Maybe the principal's been doing acid is what I think. Maybe your Crocs will melt and you'll get like glued to the floor and then you won't be able to walk, It didn't make any sense. I have a meeting with them tomorrow and I'm going to ask him, I'm going to say, when you say it's a safety issue, when you evacuate the school, don't you do it in an orderly fashion, or are you imagining it's going to be like a free-for-all with everyone screaming and running for the doors? Because normally if you're walking at a normal pace, like you should be able to walk in Crocs. Like it doesn't make any sense. So Gunnar didn't want to take his Crocs off, so they gave him a detention, and that kind of really set him off. And then he had trouble like using Google Classroom, which is like, why are you still using it? You're in person. No, seriously, like sometimes when you have people like that in a position of authority, it just makes it a pain in the ass for everyone. Crocs, you guys, Crocs. We're talking about Crocs. And then Gunnar did something very stupid, which I don't really want to say what he did, but he did something. He made a gesture, a hand gesture towards one of the teachers, and it wasn't the middle finger. It was something else that I couldn't believe. I was like, are you kidding me? After everything we've been through, we went up to the oratory and prayed for your education. We had nothing but miracles. He was going to drop out. Okay, I'm telling you this last thing, but I'm going to have to get off soon. They were going to put him back in grade 10, and he had told me, I'm not going back to school, I'm dropping out. And I was like, oh well. And I kind of was just like resigned to it. What was I going to do about it? I can't put him in school. He's over 16. I can't force him. And especially my son. Maybe you can force your son, but mine doesn't respond to that kind of thing. So it doesn't work. So I was just like, okay, well, you can take your exams whenever you're ready. You can study one subject at a time and then just go write your ministry exams and you'll get your diploma. But I thought, he's going to be sitting here playing video games for the next 2 years. And then the school decided to go ahead and put him in grade 11. And as soon as he heard that, he took them up on their offer, and he was very happy to go back to school. He's been at school every day. He's been there on time, and he's been in class. Everything's been going really well until this came up with the Crocs. So then he made a really bad hand gesture, And then I was just like, I don't believe this. Like, after all our prayers were answered, it was like literally just about a miracle that not only did they agree not to transfer him to another school, which there is no such thing as transferring him. If you transfer, he's dropping out. End of story. I would refuse the transfer, but don't do anything that'll give them an excuse to kick you out. That's the only thing Gunnar has to do, is just don't do anything to get kicked out. And he usually doesn't, obviously. And he goes and does something and he's suspended for tomorrow. Now, yeah, when people say online GED, you don't understand. This kid does not do anything by himself. I know he looks normal and he plays the guitar and he's very cute and funny, but he is not functional. Like, he doesn't do things on his own. You think he's going to sit down and like do stuff on the computer and like by himself? Like, he has no wherewithal. He needs somebody all the time to help him, or he can't handle the stress. He has very low frustration tolerance, and he can't figure something out. He just gets frustrated. Of course, GED is what I meant when I said you can just take one exam at a time. That's ministry exam. That's a GED. But it would take a long time, and I don't feel like homeschooling him. And, you know, he's very resistant. And he's not going to do he's not going to, like, people are like, oh, put him in online school. You cannot put this kid in anything. You don't sit him, he doesn't even really know how to use a computer. He's never really figured it out. He's just not independent. Like, I know he looks like it, but he's really not. He can take the metro by himself now, but he's not, like, if I leave the house in the morning during the summer, he wouldn't even feed himself. And he's 16 years old. I mean, he knows where the food is. He would know what to do, but there's something about doing it on his own that like just overwhelms him. Maybe it's deciding what to eat or how to do it. I mean, he absolutely knows how to make himself a sandwich, but I don't really know why, but this is autism stuff, you know? So, yeah, like we had just miracle after miracle. Everything's going well. It was like the best start of school year he's had. Everything's going great. He's up early every day. He's just sleep deprived. And I think that's why he snapped today. And then he does something stupid and gets suspended. So please pray for him. I think I might go back to the oratory. I would just want him to get some sleep medication and to behave himself at school. But other than that, he's okay. And my mom's doing okay. Like, I really thought I was going to lose her, and I was so heartbroken. Like, I just felt so much pain. I couldn't believe it. And I feel heartbroken too when my son gets suspended from school. And I realize, like, that's why I get so sad sometimes, you know? But my mom bounced back, and I was supposed to go visit her today, but I had to go pick up Gunnar. Then I had an appointment. I went into my appointment. I had to leave because he was having a meltdown in the car. I couldn't even leave him in the car. I had to cancel my appointment. I couldn't go see my mother. So, you know, it's like that sometimes. The libraries have free computer classes. It doesn't matter. There's lots of opportunities out there, but if you've got someone like this who's very resistant to instruction, like, nothing works. He doesn't take instruction well. He's an autodidactic. He'll learn on his own, but he has to be highly interested in it. Like, he's learning Russian on his own. You know, he knows a lot about global politics and about the war and stuff like that, or the wars. But it's hard to, you know, he has to want it, and usually he learns on his own. Like, he taught himself to play guitar, and that's an autism thing. Autodidactic doesn't work well with other people, you know. Yeah, it was a stressful day, and I'm super tired, and I really hope I can get some sleep tonight. But I just wanted to give you an update, and I just hope that things smooth over and that he makes it through this year, hopefully, you know. Not even just for like, oh, because I want him to have his diploma so he can get a job, because whatever, you know. More that I just want him. Does the high school have a special ed counselor? Yeah, no, they have all that. He's really, really difficult, I'm telling you. They've tried. I mean, he's a darling, but he is very difficult when it comes to getting him to do anything. It's really extreme. Like, you guys, go look up PDA autism. Just Google PDA autism. You're going to understand. So that's PDA, you know. Yeah, he has a mentor. I have somebody who comes over. But I'm telling you, it's just really no easy answers. It's not like with other, like, it's really particular. And there's been a lot of people that were like, no, don't worry. We've, you know, dealt with all kinds. And in the end, they're like, get him out of here. is really that difficult. The only reason I don't have major problems with him at home is because I pretty much like, I'm very hands off. That's what saved our relationship. I try to just sort of like support him, but I don't tell him what to do for the most part. Unless I'm, it's like it really needs to be told. I do have to draw the line with certain things, but I give him a lot of leeway. No, he's not money motivated. Yeah, and that's another thing. Like they tried, reward charts with money. We tried it. And it was totally pointless. Like if we give him money and he'd like give it to a homeless person, or he'd like buy his dad ice cream or whatever. It didn't matter. Aaron's doing okay. He's doing well, actually. Aaron's doing really well. So my mom's okay. Aaron's doing well. Gunner's doing okay up until today, getting suspended. I just don't want him to get kicked out. No, it's more just for him to have a richer life experience of being with other kids, more the social end of it, and the chance to be in class and to do music again, which was good. Whether he gets all his credits or not, to me, it's like whatever, If he's going to do it one day, he's going to do it anyway. And if he's not going to do it, he's not going to do it. So whatever. But I just don't want him to sit around by himself all the time. I want him to have like a happy life, Yeah, mom's okay. She recovered quite well, but her balance is really bad. So, she's at risk of falling again. I told you guys that she had said to me, this is the day that I die, and it was in the summer. So now that we're out of the summer, I kind of feel like she's going to be okay for now. But that's just me. I could be completely wrong. Or it's not that I'm right or wrong. It's that it meant something or it didn't. Because it was like a lucid dream, like a visitation. But it was weird because in the second visitation where she saw my clothes and she saw this one brown Zara blazer and she said, "Oh, that's lovely." And when I showed her my store, she picked out that blazer and she said, "Oh, that's lovely," like exactly like she did in the visitation. So maybe it means something. Anyway, I'm kind of tired and I have to get Gunner to bed because we do have to do some stuff tomorrow. I just wanted to say hi. And thanks for dropping in, you guys. I have a video that I made with Aaron. I call it our welfare date because it was us trying to deal with welfare. His welfare. Actually, they call it basic income now for disability. And then I took Gunner to the zoo. Oh, thanks, Bert. Well, I hope you meet some nice people where you are that you can, meet enough people, eventually you find some that you like. Yeah, thanks a lot for stopping in. I love you guys. Thanks, Kanga, for stopping in, and I hope you're feeling better. I hope it goes better with your health. Matthias, you're going to have to go and watch the live. Thank you so much, love. I appreciate it. Thank you for the super chat. All right. Yeah, I love you guys, and it's really nice to see you and to chat with you. I feel like I did all the talking. Another time I'll do one where you guys do all the talking and I'll just answer you. But yeah, I wanted to like give you my perspective on the whole restrictions things. I don't think it's going to happen. I want you to go out and enjoy your life and be fearless and like live your best life and have lots of fun and do things that you're passionate about that make you feel alive, because we're only here alive once, right? Well, unless you're a Hindu, and then maybe next time it'll go better, right? Anyway, love you guys. Have a good night. And thanks for stopping in, and I'll see you soon. Bye, guys.